Yeah. Now, here's what I'm saying. Ne? That is known monetary policy. Ne? The inflation value, according to the textbooks, the way you fight against it is that you increase interest rates, because increasing interest rates will drop the demand for debt or for money. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I don't want to confuse debt and money with debt and cash. Yeah, well, money is both debt and cash to the bank. The bank, when they issue a debt, they've created money. When you come with cash, that is money. Ne? So to reduce the money supply, what we do is we increase the interest rates. And theoretically, the debt side of money is supposed to go down. And equally so, people with cash are supposed to say, hey, you know what? Let me actually go and put this cash in the bank instead of spending it. And then theoretically, what that does is that it reduces the price of goods in shops, because now shop owners have to put things on special. Technology is getting out of fashion, and then they must sell it. I get it. So that they make space for the latest thing that's gonna come. I get it. Sharp. That being the case, that is why the Reserve Bank is doing what it's doing. However, I'm not sure how or why. And this is why then we start to call these things a bubble, where interest rates have been increasing, and then inflation has continued to increase. One of two things: there is money coming from somewhere, or someone is supposed to be cutting off your credit and they're not cutting it off, or you are sitting on more cash than what we actually knew exists on the market. And that is where even black markets come in, to say even black markets or illegal markets, where they come in is that they actually have cash that they are able to keep on flooding into the economy. And that's why you start seeing anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist funding legislation coming out. It's effectively to say, on the one hand, there are obviously the conspiracies and the agendas that are available, right? But on the other hand, it's to say somehow we are trying to reduce the money supply. We are trying to put a reduction, some sort of control. But when both inflation and interest rates are going up, it becomes difficult now for the bottom consumer to survive long enough that the effect that interest rates are supposed to have will have. And to your point with what you say, we don't even know if now interest rates have the effect that they normally used to have. Yeah, well, because
I don't think they do. I honestly don't think they do.
Yeah, I also don't. And part of the money supply that doesn't get spoken of, as I say, it's things like, when you watch YouTube or when you watch social media or whatever, I can remember the idea is that you're using it for free, and then advertisers can pay for advertising for those eyes and ears that are tuned to your channel. I get it. So that is now money supply that is continuing, because as a content producer, you continue to make that money that is not coming to your consumer, which is the person that listens to your podcast. It comes to this institution that wants to get the attention of that person. Whether that person goes on to buy or not, the money has already been funneled to you.
Yeah, well, now, because I'm thinking now, our working is in the value investing theory, né?
Yes.
Is that interest rates go up? I get it?
Yes.
It goes up, stocks go down.
Yes.
By at a minimum, when the market rises, you win.
Yes.
Now, they are both going up.
interest rates and inflation.
Yes.
Yes.
As a result, stocks are dropping.
Yes. And one of the things I'm glad, at least stocks are dropping, because you can imagine if stocks were not dropping, how confused we're going to be. Yeah. It's a mind F.
Yes. That's the word I was looking for.
That's why, and to your point, what I at least accept and I appreciate is that at least interest rates are dropping. I mean, not interest rates, stock prices are dropping. Stocks are dropping, which means that money is responding to interest rates, at least on the cash side, meaning that cash and cash equivalents is moving out of low return places, like in your bank, in your pocket, sorry, the JSE, and moving into the bank, where it can hopefully get a higher return. The inflation one is the confusing one. Okay, why is inflation continuing to rise? Who is buying these products and what are they buying them with? And how long can they sustain that? How long can they continue to buy on credit when interest rates are 12%?
Let's see how far it can go. Let's see how far it can go. That is what is going to lead to further increases.
Until when? Until we win as the Reserve Bank.
No, they won't win. The British bond will win.
Who will win?
The bond, not us. Until, I don't know, until it makes sense, actually.
And when will that be? Because our parents borrowed to buy property and cars. Yeah. The reason, okay, our parents borrowed to buy everything. Nah.
Yeah.
But at least in that basket of everything was still a home and a mode of transport that can get them from point A to point B, right? And obviously get them some status as well. Nah. What I'm 90% confident of, and we've seen the statistics, right? We're not borrowing to get married. We're not getting married. We're not borrowing to buy property. Property is out of our reach. It's unsecured. And unsecured, we're borrowing to buy clothes and we're borrowing to buy food. Meaning, at some point, the bank is not going to be able to collect on that money.
Yeah, we have nothing to do.
So increasing interest rates are falling on deaf ears because at least someone that owns a house can take the house back and say, you know what, I can't afford this anymore. Take your house, and rather I don't owe anyone a monthly installment, or if I owe someone a monthly installment, at least it's a reduced rental installment and not necessarily a bond and rates and taxes and still the same expenditure as someone that is renting, so electricity and water. We borrow to buy iPhones, and not all of us are creating content with those iPhones, so not all of us are getting paid for owning those iPhones.
Yeah, definitely.
Where does it make sense, Chief? What gives? What gives?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's secure. There's nothing to get now. So nothing.
Chief, your son is how old now? 4, 5, 5.
Almost 5.
What's the plan? As in, how do you speak to him? What do you say is going to happen, let's say in the next 5 years? Ne? So that's when he gets to grade 4. Something is going to happen in the world that is going to shape his concept of reality, right? And then let's give it another 10 years and say when he's 20, either in first year or going to varsity, that is the next other major milestone where I then would say something as well should happen there. So in the next 5 years, what's the reality when your son finally goes to the senior phase, yeah, primary, grade 4, and his eyes start to open, you know, especially because they're smart. These guys can write their names, they can speak before they've even gone to grade 1, you know. What happens when he gets to grade 4? So in 5 years' time, let's say now interest rates for the next year, they go higher, 0.5% more, and now really it starts stagnating, where for another year they stay at that high rate. So we're 2 years out. The thing is, as I say to you, 3 years ago, Rena, when we were going into rooms, go Hatfield, go Sunnyside, whatever, flats, you could already see that, you know what, it's not students here. It's people that are selling their bodies. You know, it's people that are making money out of alternative ways. You know, more capital park, more. You will think that got their houses from the apartheid government. Chief, ho wanna say la green. You'll be shocked what you're gonna find in there. Botany are running sex houses where kids from all over the country essentially are renting those rooms, and the way that they are paying rent is through their bodies. You have a place to sleep, you have a meal. I can't even say it's a healthy meal, to be honest. You know, and then essentially, as long as I'm making my 200 to 300 rand a day from your sex work, that's how much in a month. If you're making 300 a day in a month, 30 days, that's about 9,000 rand. That's already a lot better than nothing that I would have made if I'm just an owner of this property that is costing me rates and taxes. So the reason I say, yeah, yeah, yes. And also to the question as well, ne? When we speak about where is this artificial demand coming from, ne? Remember, we are the most unequal society in the world, meaning that the people that have got money have got more money than. It's in a weird way. Ne? I'll give you an example with apartheid and white people. Ne? South African whites are richer than whites almost anywhere in the world. I'm not talking the rich South Africans. So I'm not talking Christovis and his friends. No. I'm talking your white manager is richer than a white manager in Monaco in terms of standard of life that he can afford in London. That is why he's here. That is why he's not in London or Singapore or Dubai, because South Africa is still cheap enough that he can afford to have his standard of life met at the rate that he gets paid. Well, then,
yeah, going to Australia and all these bureaus. You'll never have that.
Exactly. Because Australia there, if he's a middle class there, if he's a manager there, life is tough, it's expensive. Well, here, he can buy his BMW and service it ample more mums with second-hand parts, with accident parts, with black market parts. The guy that was working for BMW either lost his job or couldn't keep competing, and he realized, oh, you know what? There are now enough BMWs kokasi that I can actually open a repair shop, yeah, second-hand kokasi, and then I still retain my accreditation or what have you. Where I was coming with it is us being the most unequal society on earth. Ne? It means that guy, when the interest rates have risen, that guy, by virtue of how much more money he has compared to anywhere else in the world, when that guy supports a informal business, be it through sex, through alcohol, through fixing his car, he is injecting money into the economy that the Reserve Bank actually thought was not in the economy anymore. So you essentially have this third institution, and it's not an illegal institution, it's the scale of our inequality that says this third institution that exists is also a reserve bank. They have also been holding on to cash. They have been holding on to currency. I agree it's illegal to hold a certain amount of currency in your possession above what is in the reserve bank. Yeah, well, and especially now when you consider exactly of which 350K young professionals that are considering themselves middle class and buying iPhones and Polo TSIs are earning 350,000. So do you understand that? Yeah, or less. Hey, don't get personal, Monay. But do you understand, Jorge, when that guy then spends his 350,000 Rand treasury allocation on those illicit activities? I'll call it illicit, but they're not necessarily legal. Like on those informal activities, he is artificially pumping an entire middle class. Yeah, let's say recreational. Hey, when a young professional spends 5,000 Rand go in a market, and the person that is selling go marketing, and they decided to try out this thing here, the whatever market, this person is pumping a new middle class into Kasi. Yeah, well, so essentially the Reserve Bank is not competing with poor South Africans. It's competing with the
those are their victims. We're not competing.
yes, oh Father God. Ah, fuck my life, man. Yeah, no, if you pay attention in the finance class, you are actually causing problems for yourself because you are going to understand things that theoretically you should just be breezing through and make your living and be happy. You have a point. So, okay, now it's starting to make sense now. Essentially, the Reserve Bank, and I'm gonna try and draw this. Oh, this is such a painful picture. Now when they say you are in sub-Saharan Africa, when my business partner said to me, Chief, TIA, and then he proceeded to scam me. This is what he was talking about. Chief, I'm gonna scam, yeah, I'm gonna scam you, and there's nothing you can do about it because this is Africa, So you are saying, ne? Oh, I'm saying it and I'm bouncing it off you. Ne? I'm saying we have the Reserve Bank that has got at its disposal monetary policy, right? And monetary policy essentially controls or affects the supply of money, right? If they want more money in the economy, and I distinguish between money being debt and cash, both are money, right? If they increase interest rates, then people will people will borrow less money and people will spend less money and rather put it in the bank as savings. Meaning that goods and services are no longer being paid for because their demand has gone down, right? Therefore, the price of goods and services, people start to negotiate, okay, brag, I'm pay 50 rand, the value of goods and services decreases, and therefore inflation starts to decrease. And that seesaw effect should essentially be what keeps us as a growing economy. I get it. Now you have a situation where GDP is not growing at all. I get it. That's the Reserve Bank. GDP is not growing at all. I get it. And so GDP is not growing. Let's say stagnant. I get it. Inflation is high and interest rates continue to go high. I get it. And we're asking ourselves that, okay, when the Reserve Bank does this, increasing interest rates, why is inflation still continuing? And we are saying, don't forget that South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, meaning that we have people that have so much money at the top, few people with a lot of money at the top, that when interest rates go up, they are unaffected. They can continue to still spend their money on whatever items that they want to spend their money on. And Bafana Bakasi, having identified, or I'm not getting paid what I should be getting paid in my job, let me start my own side hustle. They get that money. Now you have an artificial, yeah.
The adjacent interest with the interest in the
interest rate. Yeah. Yeah. But that's not the Reserve Bank, that's Treasury. Yes. Let's strictly speaking. Strictly speaking, that's Treasury. I get it. That is public expenditure. They are saying that, listen, business is complaining that the reason GDP is not growing is because we are paying too much in taxes. Therefore, leave money on the table, government, for me to go and invest in machines, labor, and research and what have you, so that we can grow the economy. Yeah, well, yes, so that I can create jobs, so that now people can have money to spend.
What I'm hearing is just manipulation, nothing more. If in layman's terms.
I use dangerous terms, my friend. It's my face who's on this video. Before we get to manipulation, so we have a difficult situation, and now it even starts to hit elections. And this is why it was interesting when you brought in the Reserve Bank. If inflation is already high and interest rates are already high, trying to reduce that inflation. And now we are trying to create jobs. Remember, creating jobs is going to create additional demand, because now someone who previously had nothing that now has 2,000 rands in their pocket, they are going to go and spend that 2,000 rand. And if we are trying to decrease inflation, creating jobs is not the thing to do. But when you look at our Gini coefficient problem, where we've got a lot of poor people at the bottom, and we have a few rich people at the top, and this gap between us, it's at a Champions League level. It is the mercy of gaps. We know when it comes to inequality, poverty, we are competing with Man City at the moment. they are so high, and poor Orlando Pirates that thinks it's doing something there at the bottom, it is so minuscule that even when interest rates go up, it doesn't affect inflation. And the way that we can, yeah,
We put them on two or 3 weeks back.
yeah.
Nah.
Iko kay Diamond Dog, I was in Cape Town, Kenyakile, yo. Yeah. Oh my fucking God. Pardon my French. I don't know if you can use that language on YouTube or whatever channel.
So, the times that we are in now,
There is a line for Diamond Dog.
Yeah.
While someone today goes South Africa, I mean, I go for example, also, ke reka dijo ka ma 11, 12, ke ja half, and then ke ja half mankapeng. You know, meaning, or yeah, yeah.
I was just explaining to you the scale that
Of inequality, or there is a line outside Diamond Walk, while someone has to spend 50 rand on food today, and that 50 rand, that plate that he bought is supposed to last him the whole day. Yes.
You know, when you are under reaching it a little bit.
Remember, it's world class. If they say explain Messi, how do you explain Messi? You run out of words. So if inequality is at a world class level, at some point, if we are still able to describe the problem we have in South Africa, then we are not yet at world class. Someone should be able to, you wonder how I had to hold my head and say, oh my, that is the expression I have when I'm watching Man City play. That is how serious our poverty situation is. That when you describe to me, Hore, there's a line called Diamond Walk, while I'm describing to you, Hore, More Capital Park, which is a white suburb, there are green safety nets around properties to show, Hore, we don't want you to see what's happening inside here, that human beings are doing so that they can survive.
Oh, my friend,
all right, ne. I think, no, I just wanted to bounce those things off just so that I'm clear that I can have.
We deviated very far.
No, remember,
Yeah.
it starts with principles and ends with consequences. Ne. I don't think we deviated. I think we started with principles and then ended up, sadly, being able to refer to the consequences that we can see today. Things that I think and I thought it's 3 to 5 years from now, we realize that no, actually, 3 to 5 years from now, I was saying 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years ago. 3 to 5 years from now is today. Today we are 3 to 5 years later. So, yeah, no. Neme Chomi, thanks a lot. Ne, sure.
I'll call you back.
All right, Nasif Law. Sure.